Alright there, Messiah. In part one of this thing we're calling a tutorial, I showed you how to create a refined layer mask, and that resulted in something unexpected for me, this second layer. And so if I wanted to get really cute, I could turn on both layer masks, and then I could select one of them and use black and paint out areas. Let me see if I can get a little bit closer so you can see what I'm talking about. If I zoom in here, you can see that this edge has like a little bit of a dark halo there, and if I select one of these two masks and the brush tool and paint with black, I can kind of get rid of some of that feathering effect that I put in on my second pass. I mean, sky's the limit, buddy. So, zooming out, whatever. We have this thing cut out. Let's get to the thing you actually wanted a tutorial on, which is how are we going to make a shadow. For starters, what I think I'll do is select both of these, because I guess I did just get cute and mess with that edge. And I'm going to take those and I'm going to... I want to merge the layers. If I was being smart, I'd convert to a smart object, but I'm just going to merge them. I don't care, you know? It's just sometimes you go destructive. Why? I don't know. Just did it. So, with those two layers merged, now what I'm going to do is get out my dodge tool, and I'm going to select midtones, and I'm going to go after this edge here at the top and just brighten it up just a touch so that it looks like the light's hitting this guy in the back. I mean, high class stuff right here. And with those fake highlights in place, I'm going to move my guy to a place where maybe light would be hitting him. And the funny thing about perspective is, if you have this horizon line, the higher he is, the bigger he becomes, right? So that's kind of weird. But then again, you'd have to revisit this edge with the dodge tool, again selecting midtones, to make this, you know, believable that he's coming out of the sky. And on this far, far edge, maybe we have to switch to selecting shadows and turn up our exposure. Yeah, that's not working at all. I'm going to switch to eraser, and I'm going to make it a brush that's soft. And let's see if we can just kind of say this was lost in the whites of the highlight. Yeah. So, this is, I mean, I don't even know what this is, but it's happening, so I'm not going to stop it. So we've got this pretty well done. If you're working destructively, which you shouldn't do, but if you're doing it, your history panel is useful to have out. If you go to a checkbox here, I can use that little symbol to paint back to a previous state in my history panel by using the history brush. That's what the symbol is over here. Shortcut's Y. So if I press Y and select the appropriate brush, I can paint back to the area when he had an ear, and nobody will be the wiser. Alright, so you get that. Shadow time. We just went through all that dodging and burning, so I figure the first of three ways I'll show you how to put in a shadow will be using the dodge and burn tool. If you look at the background area, you can select these highlights the same way we selected those shadows on the top of his ear, but instead of using dodge, we're going to switch over to burn. So you can click and hold over this tool, or you can hold shift and press O, and it'll cycle between the sponge, dodge, and burn tool. The burn one looks like a hand. With the burn tool selected, what we're going to do is aim for highlights and set our exposure to be, I don't know, I always feel like 30 is a good thing to start at with like anything in this toolbar. I'm probably wrong, so don't tell me so, I know. If I use my bracket keys, I can make this bigger or smaller, and I'm going to first start near his feet and start kind of fanning out this shadow. But immediately I recognize that I'm not doing this at the appropriate angle. So I'm going to try to match these lines that I see in the background coming off this tree. And let's do this at this angle. Yeah. Alright, what's nice about using dodge and burn for a shadow is that it won't attack the areas that are already in shadow quite so much as the highlights. And that results in something that's a little bit more consistent. Again, like I said before, whenever you're doing this, you can go too far and get back whatever you're doing by going to the history panel, selecting the layer before we started burning, and then going to the history brush by pressing Y, and now I can kind of paint back this area that was between the legs, and Let's see, opacity, I think 30. Weird, I like it being at 30. And you're given the impression that maybe this guy's casting a shadow. The thing about shadows is that they're really dark right at the base of whatever's making contact with the ground. So if you're going to switch back to the burn tool, it's a good idea to attack maybe even the mid-tones right around his feet. You dig? And with all that working to our advantage, and a little bit of pressing Y and going back to that art history brush, you can kind of make a shadow that starts off, you know, pretty forceful and then tapers off. So, one way to make a shadow, dodge and burn tool. I'm not really excited about how this shadow looks, but I said I was going to show you 3 ways, right? So, we got to move forward. I guess if I was going to do a few more things, I might go to the burn tool on this bear's feet and darken those up as if light wasn't getting around that area. So, you get the idea. First one, use the dodge and burn tool around the base, and keep in mind that if someone's having a light source at such a low angle, they'll cast a shadow that more accurately would go like out to here, and it falls off as it gets further away from their feet. Alright, so dodge and burn, what it really means is pinpoint contrast. And if I was going to make a tutorial just for dodge and burn, which I think I just did by mistake, what I would be doing is shading in like a graphite sketch or something like that. Alright, I can't believe this went 6 minutes.